Hello everybody, in this video we're going to talk about arc length of circles. So it's important to notice the distinction between arc length and arc measure. So in this video we're talking about arc length, and in a previous video, which I'll link in the cards right now, we talked about how to find the measure of an arc. So arc length is a portion of the circumference of the circle, and we measure that in linear units. So that's going to be meters, inches, feet, whatever. Arc measure is what we measure in degrees, all right? And I said the video for that is in the cards previously, okay? So if we look at our circle on the right here, we see we have circle, radius is r, and we have two radiuses here, one going to point A on the circle and one going to point B on the circle. And over here on the left in this white box is how we find the length of the arc. So our arc here is arc AB. And so to find the length of that arc, we take the measure of its arc. So there's measure of arc AB. We divide that by 360 degrees, and then we multiply by 2 pi r, and r stands for our radius there, okay? So we're going to look at three examples where we use this equation to find a different piece of the equation, okay? All right, so for our first example, we're going to find the length of arc AB. So this is our arc right here. So our length of the arc, length is equal to the measure of our arc divided by 360 times 2 pi r. So now we're just going to fill in the information that we're given in our diagram and then use our calculator to solve. So we know our length is equal to, the measure of our arc is 100 degrees. So we'll do 100 divided by 360 times 2 pi, and our radius here is 12. So we do put 12 right there. Okay, so now we have our length is equal to, and let's write this as 100 over 360 times 24 pi. And now I'll use my calculator to solve from there. So if I do 100 divided by 360, that gives me a pretty lengthy decimal, about 0.28 if we rounded it. And then we're going to multiply this by 24 pi, okay? So this is going to give us a length. So the length of AB, arc AB, is equal to, and we'll say 20.9 inches, okay? All right, now for number two, we want to find the circumference of this circle. So we're going to still use the same equation. So we're going to say length is equal to the measure of, now here we're going to say measure of arc BC divided by 360 times 2 pi r. So now we know the length of our arc. The length of our arc is 6.5 meters, so we can plug 6.5 in. We know the measure of our arc, which is 130 degrees. We'll divide that by 360, and then we have 2 pi r. Now, if we think back to the circumference of a circle, and did a video on that, I'll post that in the cards right now. Circumference is equal to pi times diameter, but it could also be written as 2 pi r, right? Or the radius times 2 times the diameter. So really, we don't have to do anything with 2 pi r here, because once we get 2 pi r equals whatever that is equal to, that's the circumference of our circle, because 2 pi r is equal to the circumference, okay? All right, so now I'm going to do 130 divided by 360. And that gives me a decimal, right? So that's one way we could do this. Or what we could do is go ahead and multiply both sides by 360 over 130. Okay, so that's going to get rid of 130 over 360 on the right side of my equation. So now let's do 6.5 times 360 and then divide that by 130. And that gives us a measure for 2 pi r, which is equal to 18. All right, and so remember, 2 pi r is the same as circumference. So now we know that circumference is equal to 18, and our unit is meters, okay? All right, last example. Now we're going to find the measure of arc AB, not the length of arc AB. We want to find the measure in degrees. So we can use our same equation. So let's say the length of arc AB is equal to the measure of arc AB divided by 360 times 2 pi r. So the length here is 21, so 21 equals, we don't know our measure, so let's call it x, right? X degrees. X over 360 times 2 pi, and our radius is 14.32. So we'll simplify a little bit. 14.32 times 2 gives me 28.64 pi. So now I'm going to go ahead and divide both sides here by 28.64 pi. So 28.64 pi. 21 divided by 28.64 pi. Okay, and that gives me about 0.23. So I'll write that right here, but I'm not going to round that in my calculator. I'm going to leave the entire decimal in my calculator. So we'll say 0.23. Now that's equal to x over 360. So now to solve for x, which remember is the measure of our arc, we just need to multiply both sides of this equation by 360. So in my calculator, I'm just going to hit times 360, and this gives me x is equal to, we'll say 84 degrees. So now the measure of arc AB is equal to 84 degrees. Okay, and so that is how you find arc lengths of circles and how you can use the arc length to find the circumference and also the measure of the arc.